All right, guys. Good to be back. Hope everyone is doing well. Come on down to AMA chat. We can hang out. As per usual, have different updates to go through, different questions to answer. So we will jump right into that. Quick disclaimer for this week's AMA. I do have COVID, so please bear with me as I feel like my head's in the clouds. But thankfully, my symptoms are pretty mild, so things should go pretty smoothly overall. Hopefully. All right, so the first obvious announcement is that these community AMAs are now bi-weekly. So welcome everyone who is showing up. We really appreciate it. And my videos as well are just on Fridays at this point, just given the realities of the bear market and just less influx of DeFi users, at least at this time. But I'm still excited to have this time, do this content. So thanks everyone for showing up. Prion is just on fire. It now has over $1.3 million worth of collateral deposited with nearly 1.1 million star minted. So things are going very well. It already had its first set of liquidations early on. I think even before last 2 weeks ago's AMA. So and everything went smoothly with that. So all good news there. Currently, a portion, we've had some questions about this, a portion of that collateral is indeed deposited in Aave, which is providing an additional source of yield for the Prion Treasury. And in time, this collateral can, of course, also be routed through to Dyson and then to Sphere Lend once that is released for additional yield as well. Just kind of demonstrating, there's different yield strategies that we can use with part of the collateral that is deposited within Prion such that we can start to make use of these assets versus just having them sit there idle. Which is kind of the whole point of Prion to begin with, is you can take your assets and gain some liquidity from them without actually selling via a self loan. Now, I can't recall if I think we touched on it 2 weeks ago, but you guys did suggest a section in Prion that shows where you can earn with your star. And we listened to your feedback, and you can now go to app.prion.finance/earn to see the available yield farming opportunities, which is great. You can see it all in one place, what's available. And we are working on updates to this as well in order to make it even more user-friendly. Yes, Dyson did get an update, Killer Beans, and I'll definitely talk about that in a little while. But yes, absolutely. All right. With respect to those Prion yield farming opportunities with Star, we've actually surpassed $2 million in TVL for the Star pools on Retro alone. So recall the LP is a combination of Star and another token. So collectively, there is now over $2 million being farmed on Retro for Star and other stables. Our next step within that partnership is a more symbiotic relationship with Prion, Retro, and Dyson. So be on the lookout for more information with respect to that. And you may have also noticed there are more yield opportunities for Star now available on Pearl Finance with Star and USDR, which is a stablecoin by Tangible. And Tangible has assisted in co-bribing for that liquidity pair to provide additional incentives. So as we promised from the beginning, multiple different means of earning yield on Star, trying to incentivize the stablecoin as much as we can to encourage more TVL within Prion. As such, there has been significant demand for Star on Polygon, and in part that was due to the peg being a bit too high on Polygon, which many of you have had noticed that this did result in a lot of users migrating from Arbitrum to Polygon, which then required us to restore parity between the two chains, but still addressing that. We also held our AMA with Liquidity, hosted by none other than CryptoFat. And he did an awesome job. If you haven't heard that, there is a recording available. So if you're curious, LUSD is the only stablecoin right now that can be used to swap to and from Star via the peg stability module on Prion. Of course, with all of the different liquidity pools on these different dexes, you can swap to and from Star easily with other tokens. But through Prion specifically, the peg stability module uses LUSD. And ultimately, we chose LUSD because of Liquidity's dedication to decentralization, as Prion is dedicated to as well. We also, speaking of AMAs, have an AMA with the Oath Foundation about stablecoin design and our collaboration with Ethos Reserve and more, scheduled for tomorrow, actually, August 31st at 2 p.m. UTC. So hopefully you guys can make it. I unfortunately can't make it, but hopefully it will be recorded for all of our future listening pleasure as well. Now, we also, in our kind of endeavor to figure out what works, what doesn't, and push into what does work, we did attempt a 1% fee pool as an experiment and have observed that this type of pool kind of presents a bit of a barrier compared to other pools with respect to Star liquidity pools. So we will continue to test and make adjustments towards what's best for the ecosystem. So just bear that in mind if you see something and take it into question. We appreciate that you do take it into question because it also alerts us that that the community feels that it may not work out as intended. But this does bring into thought one of the more interesting and I think powerful things about Sphere is that we have the ability to build where the need is. And I think we were blessed with the flexibility of experimenting for what works and what doesn't. So it really, I think, positions us quite well to have the freedom to do that. And also allows us to diversify strategies out towards the future. For example, many of you have asked about Coinbase, and Base, the chain, is on our list of chains to potentially expand into. However, one of the things we need is a bit more infrastructure to be built out on top of Base before it makes sense for us to do so. For example, we would need properly matured liquidity pools, as well as a strong community within the Base chain for it to make full sense for us to then push Sphere's ecosystem into that chain. All right. I'm sure also many of you saw that Balancer unfortunately experienced a critical vulnerability on their V2 pools, which affected a number of liquidity pools across multiple chains. Thankfully, Sphere and the multi-sig was quick to withdraw Treasury funds from any affected pools. And importantly, the Sphere W-Matic pool on Balancer was not reported to be affected by this vulnerability. Despite all of that, and especially with Balancer's quick response to addressing these issues, you may have noticed that the Balancer proposal to enable a star USDC.E gauge on Arbitrum is active. So the ball is indeed rolling for the Balancer Prion integrations. It is just a matter of time. All right, so let me take a quick pause there. Any questions or comments on things that I've mentioned so far? Missed you guys too. All right. Well, the chat is exploding with questions, so I'm just going to ignore them all and keep going. JK, LOL. Dyson V2 is indeed here, Killer Beans. It has got an amazing update, and I am personally very excited for this update because my personal investment style is more towards the set it and forget it category. And Dyson is absolutely tailored to users like me. So I'm happy about the Dyson update. The user interface and user experience has gotten a rework and updates that have been, and these are all updates that have been in the work for a long time, and there are still more on the way. Perhaps the coolest updates with Dyson 2.0, at least in my opinion, are those enhanced analytics for the concentrated liquidity pools, which now shows the profit loss of the last rebalance, including impermanent loss factored in. So this was a massive area of people requesting these types of analytics. So for them now to be available, I think is a very good step forward. Also, for users like me who wanted some peace of mind for how well Dyson's ALM solution was working, it is now readily available for everyone to see. So really cool. I am a huge fanboy of Dyson, um, so I'm also very happy with these changes and these updates. Um, Unfortunately, you may have noticed also that the YL Sphere compound button was broken. However, that was not due to Dyson's updates. Rather, it was due to the fact that 1inch deprecated their API, which required us to renew it. And in the meantime, the compound button was removed from Dyson's DApp in order to avoid confusion. And the rewards can still be claimed and manually compounded via Balancer as you see fit, of course. As Oxy mentioned, more metrics are indeed in the works for Dyson. More updates will continue to come to Dyson. And in fact, already since the launch of Dyson 2.0, we've made some updates based on your guys' feedback. So again, we appreciate the feedback, which includes the total locked amount for YL Sphere now displays in the deposit menu. You are also now able to see your unlocked amount, and we've added some tooltips to show the exact date and time of the unlocks. So all things based on community feedback. Once again, we really appreciate all of that type of feedback. We read through all of the different chats. That is what they are there for. That is what the suggestions channels are there for as well. So we absolutely appreciate you guys being here and providing that, because ultimately, this is for the community to use. So next up, regarding the Treasury report, the internal version has been completed, but it has required some minor edits and write-ups prior to being ready for public release. And we sincerely appreciate your patience with this report, as we, and by we I mean Rux, had to process over 50,000 transactions to ensure accuracy amongst everything else that we have been working on. So thank you for your patience on that. Thankfully, moving forward, the report itself can more easily be updated to reflect a new quarter. Transactions will be able to be pulled, categorized, and processed daily or weekly to hopefully make the turnaround time significantly less for future reports. kind of turning it into a more regular, um, workflow versus having to kind of backtrack and do everything all at once, which makes sense, right? Now, while I usually do not have any alpha for you guys, as a special thanks for showing up this week, that's all right, T1. You came in at the perfect time. I do have a small teaser, courtesy of Rux, for the upcoming Treasury report. So go ahead and check out AMA board. So that is a sneak peek of the Treasury report. And even from that, I hope you can see how much work has been put into getting this to be as detailed as possible. Guys, I actually get to deliver alpha. I'm so excited. How is that? What do you guys think of that? I am personally super impressed by all the hard work put into that. Exactly as Oxy said, we love numbers, and we want to put as much analytics as we can into these things. Data, 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 indeed. T1, I can't help but notice that you have a ferret as your image. Oh, the wens. Everyone gets a Thune. He is indeed the ferret. All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoy that little teaser. Uh, I'm definitely super excited about it. Hopefully you guys are too. All right. There are a few questions, not too many. So it shouldn't take too long to get through these different questions. But let's just go ahead and jump into them. A couple of them from CS. So the first one from CS, will you redistribute the treasury if everything doesn't pan out as intended, i.e. if everything fails? Will you redistribute the treasury before closing the project? Big if. We are very far from needing to make a decision like that, and we are moving further away from needing to make a decision like that, thanks to the success of Prion and Dyson, which is only just starting to ramp up. Let's not forget about all of the other components, including Prion's second phase of launch with Oprion and VE Prion, with Sphere Lend, the integrations of Prion, Dyson, Sphere Lend, Covenant, Sphere V3, of course, when Sphere V3, Thune, not to mention multiple exciting partnerships that are ongoing and are in the works, for example, with Kronos and Retro. So ultimately, again, CS, we are very far from needing to make a decision like that. So that is that. Now, wouldn't you believe it, T1? Carmine Glitch also asked, when will VE Sphere be introduced? You guys just love giving me the when questions. And how can investors begin supporting VE Sphere? So, again, unfortunately, I cannot give you a specific timeline for VE Sphere, which is Vote Escrowed Sphere, because there is still a lot on the roadmap for what needs to be built and put in place before VE Sphere. Especially right now, there is a lot of focus and attention from the team on continuing to push forward into Prion, the integrations of Prion and Dyson, and how Dyson and Prion can integrate with other protocols. There's a lot of work to be done there, a lot of exciting things that we can do with that, and of course, build out within the ecosystem for that, specifically with Sphere Lend. So that's going to take a significant amount of time to fully develop, fully fledge out, put things in place, and get the ball rolling with all of those components before we can then turn around and say, okay, it now makes sense to change our focus and start working on VE Sphere. Of course, we will certainly release more information as it becomes relevant, but in the meantime, the best way of supporting VE Sphere is to support Sphere itself. So right now you can take your Sphere and yield lock it for a period of 17 weeks as YL Sphere directly through Dyson. Sphere now has its own Sphere Locker tab within Dyson that you can navigate to. And while yield locked, you can earn blue chip tokens at a variable APR yield that comes from the ecosystem, including from Treasury yield. But overall, Carmine Glitch, thank you for your support and enthusiasm. It just so happens that VE Sphere is also one of the things that I'm most excited about, even though it is far away. Specifically because I'm interested in the voting and bribes component, as we have definitely seen in recent times with Chronos, and I think especially Retro. What we're seeing is how profitable bribes can be for the governance holders of these different projects. So I think exciting things ahead, personally. Clara, if the YL yield was going down instead of up, that might have been a better question. Oh, you mean for CS's question? Yeah. I guess I can see more where CS would come from through that perspective. And yes, indeed, T1. I think it is worth pointing out the Earn Star collaboration. So as I mentioned earlier, we do have an AMA with the Oath Foundation where Sim will be talking more about these different things, stablecoin design, our collaborations, and just where things are headed towards the future with respect to that area. So it should be pretty exciting. It's been a while since we've heard from the man, the myth, the legend himself. So even though he'd probably not like that I said that, but still, it's good. I think it'll be very interesting, very cool. To listen to those things. All right. Speaking of bribes, says Claradora. My goodness, look at those bribes. So yeah, if you guys are interested in obtaining some bribe revenue, Retro, of course, has multiple star LPs that are getting a lot of bribes pushed into from Prion, where you can use your VE Prion voting power to vote and then earn those very high APR bribes. I also posted last week's video was kind of a bit more of an advanced type idea for people where you can deposit collateral into Prion. Let's say it's Wmatic. And let's say that you do a 50% collateralization. You take that star, you deposit it into one of Retro's LPs, and then as you earn Prion, you can vote escrow that into VE Retro, vote on that same liquidity pair that you have farming, and then you can earn boosted yield on that, as well as earn bribes with your VE Retro. And then, of course, to close the loop Pandu style, you can use some of that bribe, some or all of those bribe rewards to then buy more Sphere to deposit into YL Sphere, earn more Wmatic, and keep on looping with the Wmatic into Prion. It's obviously just one example of something that you can do within the ecosystem. And of course, there are many, many, many others. So I didn't want particularly, people to get caught up on that one idea. It was more to offer this notion of what can be done within the ecosystem. Indeed. All right. So Oxy shared a Twitter post from Sim showing just the awesome growth of the TVL of Star, which is very good to see. T1, can I bribe you to drop some more alpha? Sadly, no. My alpha is not for sale. All right. Pandu, check AMA board. Straight out of Planet Alpha, indeed. Just in general, because I don't. Just to comment on what T1 mentioned about my Discord, um, I'd like to think of a different way of hosting this so that you don't see all of the different icons on my Discord. I don't want to, you know, influence people's processes of exploring DeFi in any way. So I should probably think of a different way of doing that. But let's just folders. See, other people know. I'm I'm incompetent is the reality. All right. Well, moving swiftly forward, I do have one more question from Snowy, which was how do we claim our Zeely NFTs? This was a very good question, actually, and thank you for Aqua for providing a link. But all you have to do is simply go to galxe.com/Prion, tap the desired NFT, and then claim it. So it's a very simple process. If you are having any issues, please let us know in the chats, or if that doesn't help, you can always open a support ticket and we can help you more thoroughly. All right. OXR. How long till gauge on balancer for star USDC.E? You know, how long is another way of asking when? I wish I could tell you. But it is good news and it should be promising that the proposal is in. So it should just be a matter of time. How long that time is, I of course, and unfortunately, cannot say outside of the blanket all catchphrase statement Thune. All right, family. So believe it or not, that is it. There have been an incredible amount of updates and things happening the past 2 weeks, and I feel like I breezed over a lot of it. But does anyone have questions, of course, or comments on things I've discussed so far? And again, I'm just so happy that I finally actually get to finally actually got to deliver some amount of alpha, even though it's just a teaser. Uh, very very happy about that. Super moon. Um, that's a good one, Panda. No, I did not see the supermoon. That sounds like that feels like the start of some type of joke, though. I'll just say if someone could think of a good joke with that as the opener. Oh, I almost forgot. In what, 2 hours time now, the epoch will flip. So if you do have any governance tokens, please be sure to use them to vote on different pools before time runs out. Otherwise, you will miss out on bribes for this week. And also be aware that with the epoch flip, if you have any YL sphere unlocking, be sure to check that so that you can either relock or withdraw. Okay. Well, really, that is it, everyone. Kind of a shorter AMA today, only about half an hour. Hopefully everything went okay. Again, I apologize if because my brain feels like it's all over the place with this. But thanks everyone for showing up. It's really nice doing this again. I will see you all in 2 weeks' time. But until then, of course, always feel free to engage in the chats if you have questions, if you have concerns, if you have feedback, because again, we do listen to your feedback. We value your feedback, and hopefully, as you've seen, it does lead to sometimes really, really good updates to our different protocols, and we appreciate it, of course. And I appreciate you all being here. Thanks so much for showing up. Always remember that you matter for who you are. And until next time, everyone, have a good day. Bye bye.